Alright, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? This is, of course, your broadcaster, HD StarCraft, and I'm here to bring you guys another StarCraft 2 Heart of the Storm broadcast. Over in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the red Terran player. His name is going to be Gnosis, and kind of giving me a reminder there of that planet in Star Wars. I think that's called Gnosis, though. And over in the bottom right-hand corner, we do have the blue Zerg player. His name is Shadu Fukjufs, which is otherwise just known as Fa, or Baby Fa, who is also known as my cousin. And I'm very interested to see how he plays against Gnosis. This is going to be another Zerg versus Terran. And of course, this was played actually over the Thanksgiving weekend. I was laying down in my bed, totally stuffed full of turkey, yams, and mashed potatoes and all that good Thanksgiving stuff, doing my shopping on Newegg or whatever, and I was kind of watching over my shoulder, watching my cousin play, giving him some coaching tips, and you know, these are some of the better games that he played here, and he is a Grandmaster Zerg playing against other Grandmasters here in Heart of the Storm, so these are very high-level replays. Very excited to see how this is going to go down. The map is Acheron Wastes, and this map has a nice little feature here, natural expansion, rocks leading down to the third. I've talked about this a few times. As Zerg, typically you do want to go ahead and grab the hatchery out here on the exterior perimeter and not the hatchery over here, which I feel like is a little bit more dangerous because you really can't break down these rocks early on as a Zerg player safely. It's just very, very hard to do. So we'll see how this map goes, and Gnosis doesn't quite have the prestige. I know he's not as known as Gonzi, but I have a feeling that this is going to be a pretty good game here, pretty good cast. So I hope you guys are ready for this one, and you know, strap yourselves in. This is going to be a barracks coming up for Gnosis, so none of that Korean style, I'm going to place a barracks in the middle of the map and see what happens, but rather going to play it a little bit more safe. We do have an Overlord going down in the bottom left-hand corner here for Fa. He's going to try to, I guess, you know, as Zerg, you don't really want to send that Overlord across the middle when it's a big map like this, because by the time it gets over here, there's going to be a Marine out. And typically, you know, you don't want to lose your initial Overlord to a Marine. So this is safer coming out from the Zerg, at least from the scouting path of the Overlords. And we do have that SCV now coming in to scout, and there is a 15 hatchery on the way for Fa, as well as a 15 pool. Just kind of curious here, what kind of cool, sweet items did you guys buy for your Thanksgiving, you know, Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals? I know right now it's currently actually Cyber Monday as I'm doing these casts, but I'm just curious, what did you guys go out and buy? Personally, last year I bought like a new flat screen TV, and you know, I'd always try to buy some new cool electronics. I think this year I didn't buy one yet, but I do want a new graphics card, so that's going to be what I'm going to look to get, and you know, that's all good fun. Anyways, just let me know what you guys wrought. I'd love to read it out in the comments down below. Always interested to see what you guys are up to. And we do have these 3 drones now making their way over to the natural expansion. 18 workers and 19 workers right now, so a pretty close economic game. Gnosis is going to bring that SCV down to the natural expansion, but is going to be herded away by the 2 Zerglings that are already out on the map for Fa. There is a quick expand here from the Terran player. He's actually gone 1 Rax fast expand, but this is going to be backed up with 2 gases, and the reason for this is Gnosis is going to try to go for mech play. I mean, it has to be mech play to go for 2 gases right now, or it could be a quick Banshee, but you know, given that it's Heart of the Storm, I'm gonna say it's probably going to be mech play. That Zergling just exploded. His innards, his internal organs just became a fireworks show right there for those Marines, and now this one remaining Zergling is going to try to get out of the way. Dukes, and he's going to get behind the bush, so that Marine is going to break off the pursuit and go to the Xel'Naga Tower, and so early game control is going to go to Gnosis here on Acheron Wastes. Overlord, though, also providing a sense of control and map detection for the Zerg player, is going to now park its way behind the natural expansion. And, you know, it doesn't really reveal much. You can see, as a Zerg player, okay, the Terran definitely has an expansion because you can see that mineral patch is mining. And that's really all that Overlord is going to provide for now. It would be nice, of course, as a Zerg player, to try to ram a couple of Zerglings into the natural here, just to see, is he going mech or is he going bio? Because at this moment in time, Fa has no idea actually what he is going to be facing up against. And if he is playing against bio, the more popular way to deal with that right now as a Zerg is to play Infestor Wings of Liberty style. But if he's going mech with Widowmines and Hellion or Hellbats, then it's actually better as a Zerg to try to make use of either Burrow Charging Ultras, Vipers, you know, like we saw in the last game against Gonzi. So we'll have to see how this is going to play out, but Gnosis is actually going for a pretty quick starport, so he is going to go Banshee play, and I guess my original prediction was a little bit off, and we are going to see an early Banshee coming out here for Gnosis, and that means it's still up in the air as to whether he's going to go bio or mech. He might add on a couple more barracks, or he might add on a couple more factories. two Hellions right now are going to make their way over, and oh, that drone is not going to be able to make his way over to become a hatchery. Unfortunate for him, but it looks like that was just a ruse supposedly for FUD to go ahead and get the hatchery over at the third location, and the Queens here doing their best to try to prevent the Hellions from getting over there as they're shooting down their creep tumors and spreading out their influence on the middle of the map. Roachhorn is up as well for FUD, and I've seen him do this a lot. He even goes roaches against a Terran who plays bio, just because early roach pressure is pretty good, but not against a Banshee. So the Banshee, the starport's already here, and will FUD be able to see anything of importance? He sees a tech lab on a barracks, and he sees a factory as well. So at this moment in time, I kind of remember him saying, well, I don't even know what he's going to go. He's adding on a barracks and a factory, so it's kind of like, are you going to go a combination of bio and mech? Maybe Hellbat medic with biological forces? It's very confusing right now for a Zerg player, because that Overlord Scout, if anything, it adds more uncertainty to the fact rather than really revealing anything of importance. So right now it is kind of it's kind of up in the air. We do have Gnosis coming out with a Banshee and quite a few Hellions, and we'll see if he's going to be able to do any damage at all. He looks like he wants to go over to the third expansion, but unfortunately there is no hatchery for him to actually attack. And there are roaches here. Oh, great little back attack right there, but he will not be able to kill any Hellions. Oh, yes, he will. So Gnosis kind of staying around. There are 4 Queens here as well, and that went pretty well for the Zerg player because Gnosis wasn't paying attention and ended up losing a Banshee and maybe a Hellion or so, taking some damage on the rest of the Hellions, and now he will have to pull back. But more importantly, that attack ends up revealing to FUD that yes, there is a starport, there is Banshee production, but what about the rest? What is actually going on inside the Terran base? And in fact, we do have a lot of factories being added on right now, and I actually don't see the extra barracks. Okay, so I guess Gnosis never made an extra barracks, so that was just my bad. I thought he actually made a second barracks, but just one. And he does have 3 factories right now, so he is going pretty much full on mech play here, as we have Siege Mode and Infernal Pre-Igniter on the way. One Banshee also going in over to this expansion, gonna start to take out some drones. And FUD doesn't have his Queens in position, is now trying to herd the Queens back home. But he's already lost about 7 workers, and that is continuing to go up. And unfortunately, a Banshee can traverse the terrain here much easier than a Queen can. But there's a Spore Crawler coming up, so the Banshee is not going to be able to do much more damage than that. Has killed off 8 drones already, so by far has, you know, paid off for itself, and or herself, if you want to be exact. And it looks like Gnosis is going to go in for a couple more drone kills. I don't think she'll be able, or he'll be able to get another one. And whoa, FUD actually ends up canceling one of his buildings there. I'm not entirely sure what building that was. Maybe he was worried that it was going to be scouted by the Banshee, but he ends up making a Hydralisk den. So I think, you know, true to form, he likes to go Roach Hydra Viper against Terran who goes mech, and I think that's what he's doing right now. He just wants to get a Hydralisk den up. Maybe it was a different building that he ended up canceling, like a Spire or something. I'm not too sure, an Infestation Pit. But for now, he is going to stick with Roach Hydra Infestor, or excuse me, Roach Hydra, and I believe he's going to go up to Viper to deal with the Terran mech. We'll see if it's going to be effective or not. He is adding on an Infestation Pit as well, and that's presumably so he can go ahead and go up to Hive Tech and get the 3-3 upgrades as well as the Hydralisk speed. He's adding on 9 Hydralisks right now. Creep spread across the middle of the map looking pretty good as well. Has actually gotten it at around the 12-minute mark into the middle of the map, which on Akalon Wastes, it's a big map, so it's good for him to go ahead and do that and start to spread a highway. But Viking is also starting to destroy the Overlords here that are covering the gaps between the perimeters of the map here, and that Viking is going to be able to kill off that Overlord. One Viking up here as well. Recall, I talked about this in the game where he played against Gonzi, and this is pretty threatening. When you lose Overlords in the edge of your map, you know, it's hard to say what's going to happen, and you really don't want to give up complete air control to the Terran player, but there is nothing right now that you can do as a Zerg if you go Roach Hydra Viper. There's just no answer for that, you know, as opposed to going Mutalisks, which are able to deal with those Vikings. But right now, we do have a push coming out from Gnosis. He's got Widow Mines, he's got Hellions, he's got Siege Tanks, so Hellions are ready to go into Hellbat mode should things need to get serious. And he's starting to siege up right here on the edge of the creep. He needs to drop a comm set down so he can destroy the creep tumors, but has not decided to do so yet. A lot of creep tumors across the map though, so it's going to take him some time to pound through this much of a creep tumor infrastructure, and we'll see when he decides to drop the comms at. There we go. So now I'm going to start to take out the creep tumors. Fuzz preparing his army here with a concave all over in every direction, and is preparing to go in with a major attack. He's got overseers as well to detect the Widow Mines, and now he's going to go in, but the Widow Mines, will they be able to launch in time? Oh, he tries to micro his roaches out of the way of the Widow Mines. Didn't work out too well for him there. And now the tanks are sieged up, and the Hellions are in Hellbat mode, so he has to pull out of there. Doesn't want to fight against that, and also probably due to the fact that there are Blue Flame Hellions inside of his expansion as well. And those drones are so, they're so clumped up right now. If those Hellions had went in there and gotten a blast right here on this mineral patch, that could have been devastating. But thankfully, Gnosis did not decide to do that. And Pha is going to maneuver his way into the middle of the map here with a lot. You know, he's going Roach Hydra, which is just so interesting. You know, you don't see this very often against Terran, but he almost made it work against Ganzi, and I'm very curious to see if he's going to make it work here against Gnosis, who obviously is not at the same level as Ganzi, unless it's like, I don't know, MVP playing in disguise, which is highly unlikely. So we'll see what happens here, but it does look like there's a lot of Widow Mines and tanks, and Pha has to pull out of there. That is, whoa, that Hydralisk carcass just flew up and then down. Oh, wow, that's a terrible way to die. I'd rather drown than die like that. So that was pretty bad. And that has got to be a morale D-booster for these Hydralisks after seeing their brother die like that. Back at home here, he is trying to get plus, what is that, plus 2, plus 3, plus 2 actually. So his upgrade's a little bit offset right now. Tanks once again sieging up here. Widow Mine's getting back in position. The firepower of Widow Mine, Hellbat, Siege Tank, along with plus 1, and 2-2 about to come online here. You know, the AoE firepower here is going to be very hard for Pha to deal with just Roaches and Hydras. He actually needs to get Vipers on the field if he wants to combat this type of army. And we can see that there are 3 Vipers in production right now. Either Vipers or Ultras, I feel like. You know, Burrow Charging Ultras are not too bad, but then you see the Widow Mines, and it's like, well, the Widow Mines can take out Ultras pretty well, but of course they'll do splash against their own army if a Burrow Charging Ultra decides to pop up inside that Terran army. But regardless, the Zerg is not going to go for Ultras. He's going to go for Vipers here, and decides to consummate the Roach Warren and then transfuse the Roach Warren as well, so that's interesting. He can't really afford to do it on the Evo Chambers. I would like to see him actually do it on the Baneling Nest. There's no need for a Baneling Nest right now against this type of composition. So regardless, we'll see what happens here, but a lot of Roaches coming around the backside here, gonna try to go for a couple of tank snipes. And will he be able to take out at least 3 tanks here? He takes out 2. And that's about it. Not a bad trade at all. You know, Siege Tanks are infinitely more expensive than Roaches are. And Roaches are much easier to reproduce than a Siege Tank is. So that's not a bad play at all. But we can see that the Terran setup here is very, very hard to break through. This is, you know, Widow Mines backed up with tanks, backed up with more tanks and Hellbats. Raven even overhead along with the Banshee as well. So until the Vipers really come into play, and we have 5 more Vipers on the way, in fact, until they come into play, this is going to be a hard battle for Pha to actually break through. Looking at the EPM here, you can see current 250 for my cousin and 200 for the Terran players. So if you had any doubts that this was a high level game, this is extremely high level, as that, you know, that's not normal APM, that is EPM. So rocks have gone down here, and whoa, actually the Terran army is going to go back around this way, and now the Vipers and Roaches and Hydras are going to come in. It seemed like the AI right there for Gnosis was a little bit messed up, as the tanks now are going to get covered with Binding Cloud, and the Roaches and Hydras are going to go in, and they will be able to clean up this army, but there are more tanks to the north, and without enough Viper energy, I don't know if Pha can actually break through this area. It looks like he lost quite a few Vipers there, and he's only down to 1 left right now, so whatever Vikings were in the air were able to take out quite a few of the Vikings. But that was a pretty cool play, and I just want to show you guys what happened. You know, the rocks went down, the Terran army was going in, and then the AI of the Terran army went into the rocks and then could not go through, so they went around this way, and Pha was able to catch that army, as I guess Gnosis was not paying attention, and now the Roaches and Hydras making an attack into the Siege Tank line. They are going to be able to take out a clump of Siege Tanks there, and Gnosis at 2-2, Pha at 3-2. Pha has the upgrade advantage coming in with Hydras around the north as well, but there's just too many tanks. There's a lot of hidden Widow Mines as well, and Pha, if he's got a lot of Hydras, so maybe he can make a push into this position. You might think that Hellbats are very good against Hydras, but there's so many Roaches and Hydras here, it might be, you know, a moot point. And it looks like now Pha is going to try to break down these rocks and go for an attack into this expansion. The Terran right now is on 4 bases. The Zerg is on 5. And it looks like the orbital commands have lifted off, and now if can just snipe out these orbital commands and get out of there, he's in a pretty good position. But Gnosis is making sure that if these Roaches and Hydras do kill off the orbitals, which they do, they were going to take a lot of damage on the way out, and you can see a lot of Hydras taking siege shots there, and finally Fa is able to get out of there, but he loses several Hydralisks, several Roaches, but he might be able to get a couple of tanks here. And Gnosis is just playing a smart game right now, very cost efficient. He knows, okay, I'm gonna lose my orbital commands, but it's all right. I'm a Terran player. I've got lots of orbitals back at home. I can lift them off and bring them in a position and replace that fallen command center. And if I position my siege tanks at the edge of the cliff, on the top of the cliff, as the Zerg army is moving out into this narrow corridor, I'm gonna be able to make sure that the Zerg, you know, doesn't get out of here for free. You know, he's gonna pay a price for taking out my 2 orbitals. Of course, I still think Fa is, you know, in a better position. He did kill off those 2 commands, and he didn't lose as much as you would have thought. And we can see right now he does have a pretty big bank of 3,000 minerals. Insane. 3,000 minerals, 300 gas to 300 minerals or so, and 400 gas for the Terran player. And right now, Fa just being smart, not being overcommittal to this expansion. He knows that you know, that the Terran has bases all over the place, but he doesn't want to commit into an attack. He actually doesn't realize that there is an expansion down here that is a planetary right now, and he's going to go in to potentially this position again, but I don't think this is a good idea. There's a lot of Widow Mines waiting to ambush the Roaches and Hydras. Of course, there are Overseers here, but still, never a good idea to attack into a Terran player who is set up and in position. That can always turn out pretty bad for a Zerg. And now it looks like those Hellions are going to be yanked behind the evolution chambers. Just Fa trying to make sure that he covers his drones here. And of course, same strategy as before against Ganzi. He's got so many evolution chambers that if he loses energy here, it's okay. He can just kill off the evolution chambers and get his energy be right back into the game. But we do have a lot of Blue Flame Hellions coming in here. There is an expansion. This was the 5th for Fa, and those drones immediately going down there as a ComSat goes down as well to check to see if there are any burrowed units. And Fa losing quite a bit of workers. So looking at the workers lost tab here, the Terran has killed off 21 workers so far, and the Zerg has only killed off 1. So things are not looking good on that department. And oh god, the Viper's gonna fly over the mine! Oh! And of course, like I said before, the Widow Mine is land, sea, and air capable, so those Vipers have to be super careful, and that's why the Zerg player here is keeping so many Overseers with his army. Doesn't want to lose you know, expensive units for no reason at all. He is going down to the bottom right-hand corner, or bottom left-hand corner to cover this hatchery, but meanwhile, the Terran player is going clockwise in motion to the Zerg, is now going to take control over the middle of the map. If he sieges up all these tanks and transforms the Hellions into Hellbats, which he has, these Roaches and Hydras could be in a lot of trouble, but the Vipers are coming in, and beautiful Binding Clouds are going down. Now the Vipers are going to fall due to the Vikings here, but not before they shut down the siege tanks, allowing the Roaches and Hydras to get in range. And will he have enough to take out the tanks? Because actually, the Binding Cloud only lasts for a temporary amount of time, but it looks like Fa does have enough. And he punches through the tank line in the middle of the map. Beautiful play right there. And Gnosis losing a massive chunk of his army, now down to 147 supply, under 160. But Gnosis, while he was maxed, he was able to save up a large surplus of minerals here. And of course, about 1,000 gas too. So both players have a considerable bank to work through. So this game is not even close to being over yet. As Fug goes over to the Zelnaga Tower, now realizes, okay, you do have a 5th expansion, so it's 5 bases against 5 bases right now, and Fa knows that that means trouble for him. He needs to take out this planetary fortress, but where have we seen Hydras against PFs before? That doesn't work out too well. But he's got no choice. He's going to try to go in here and take it down. He does have 3-3 on his side, but the SCVs can repair for so long, and the Planetary Fortress now going up to 2 kills. It looks like it will go down, though, as the Hydras are able to get a pretty good concave, and now Bud needs to pull out of there, doesn't want to stick around. He is actually going to be able to take out some of the air units, but now the PDD comes down, and the Hydras are completely neutered against PDD. They can't take out these siege tanks, but the PDD energy is wearing down. It looks like some of the Roaches and Hydras were outside of the PDD range, and they were able to take out those siege tanks. So this game is getting very close here, with Fa able to take out the 5th command center for the Terran player, and is on 5 bases himself, so it is 5 bases to 4 bases. But the Terran is adding on Seeker missiles for Ravens here. You know, He's got 5 Ravens in his army, and you might be wondering, well, why would you go Ravens? That's actually becoming very popular now in Terran versus Zerg. Even in Wings of Liberty, Ravens with their Secret Missile are extremely potent. And if you're going against Roaches and Hydras, it's actually not that bad because Zerg ground loves to clump up. So we'll see how this goes. You can see how clumped up that army is, and the Ravens are coming in. They can launch out some Secret Missiles here. Do they have enough energy? They have to be careful as well because there are 5 or so, 6 or so Hydras there, and the air goes down very quickly to Hydralisk. A little bit of cat and mouse here in the middle of the map of Akalon Waste, and now they're both taking their respective sides across the crevasse. And it looks like Pho now back on the highway with the Roaches and Hydras, going to try to save this expansion as the Hellions have mobilized down south. With 2-3 upgrades, these Blue Flame Hellions able to take out the drones so quickly. 28 workers to 7 workers on the workers lost tab, 56 to 59. Looking at some of these other tabs here, we can see current APM pretty high, EPM also pretty high as well. And it looks like those Roaches and Hydras are still, looking good, but the bank for both players has been exhausted now. You can see that the Zerg is out of money, the Terran is also out of money. One thing though that Pho has going for him, he still has a lot of gas. So that can, of course, mean Infestors or more Vipers. Probably going to be more Vipers because he hasn't made a single Infestor this game yet. But we do have a drop coming in here over to this Planetary Fortress. A lot of Roaches and Hydras packed in this Overlord drop, but there are turrets here, and one Overlord full of Roaches and Hydras goes down as the Ravens come in along with the rest of the units, and the Seeker Missiles take out the Roach and Hydra drop so quickly. That was an obliteration, but there are still Roaches alive here. Meanwhile, another attack going around to the top right-hand side. Gonna try to take out this orbital command, and it does force a liftoff, but the Roaches cannot attack air, so they are out of there as the rest of the Terran army comes back to save. And I'm not too sure if that drop and attack worked out too well there for Pho. A lot of times when you see a Zerg player going in with the 2-pronged attack, it's like, oh, he's gonna do a lot of damage here, but the Terran Gnosis was able to stop that very quickly with the Seeker Missiles and the Terran army in position to deal with the main attack. That did not go well for Pho at all, and his Zerg army now has diminished in size. One thing we got to keep an eye out here is for the Viper count. Very similar to, keeping an eye out for something like a Science Vessel in Brood War. They are an expensive air-based spellcaster. The more you have, the more effective your Zerg army is, and unfortunately right now Pho only has 5 Vipers. Actually, that's not too bad. But, based off the size of this Terran army, I would actually like to see more. But will he be able to get enough on the field? He's basically out of money. He has a lot of gas, but he's out of money. And now Gnosis is planning to make an attack over here to this hatchery. And I don't know if has enough Roaches and Hydras here. He's going in with everything, dropping down the Binding Clouds. And the Terran air is actually out of position here, but Gnosis just has too much. And Pho has to GG once again. So a great game by Gnosis, able to take out my cousin. And, like I said before, it is his toughest matchup right now, Zerg versus Terran. But nevertheless, very high-level game there. And very close, down to the wire, 192 to 120 supply. But Pho is the loser here in this matchup. But I hope you guys enjoyed this cast. Definitely props to Gnosis for playing a beautiful Terran versus Zerg. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is HD StarCraft. If you did, check me out on my Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at HD StarCraft. And I will have more casts coming out for you guys. I'm going to be doing a couple more games here of my cousin because, he's my cousin and he's a pretty good player. So looking forward to more of those casts, and I'll see you guys in the next video. This is HD, and I'm signing.